Hi guys, so I'm not on the bank fishing today, I'm at home. So I just thought I'd show you some of the prep I do before I go fishing. I've already made up some solid PVA bags, but now I need some bait. So if you've been watching the vlogs recently, I've started rolling my own bait, concentrating first initially with a krill, and then I'm going to be doing like probably a fruity nutty flavour as well. But I want to get this krill right first and catch on it. I haven't caught on it yet, so I want to catch on it. So I thought I'd just show you what I do. I won't show you absolutely everything and bore you to death, but I'll show you a few points. There's a few things I've kind of learnt along the way because I'm very new to it. So there's a few things I've learnt along the way that might actually help someone else, so that's really why I'm doing this. Alright guys, let's crack on and I'll show you what's what. Alright guys, so first of all, I'm just going to do a 3-egg mix. That's normally what I do just for 48 hours, to be fair. I don't generally take lots of bait. I've never been someone who baits heavily, to be fair. Normally I'm quite small when it comes to baiting. So let's just whack 3 eggs in here. Make sure we don't get any shell in. You can, some people do leave the shell in, I don't. Just get most of that white in. Now before I put any other ingredients or mixes in or anything, whenever you're doing boilies, you kind of always concentrate on the liquid part first and then you put in the powders. So I normally just break all these up and get a semi-smooth sort of mixture out of this. I'm only using a fork, nothing special. Everyone can do this at home. It's quite therapeutic. It's really nice to think you're making your own boilies, especially if you start catching on them. I haven't caught on mine yet, but I'm sure I will at some point. So that's definitely good enough. Just an initial mix. Use a spoon, that fork that doesn't fall in, that always helps as well. So now we're going to start adding flavours, and let's show you what some of them are. A couple of my flavourings that go in are John Baker flavourings. Not even sure if you'll see that, but John Baker flavourings, they're good quality. As always, when you're doing it, you want some syringes, measuring spoons, and you want to be wearing gloves, so I'm going to put some gloves on. One of the other liquids I put in, guys, don't mind showing you, liquid krill from British Aqua Feeds, really good stuff, proper smelly dough. Alright guys, so now I've actually got all my liquids in that I want, so before I do anything else, I'll just give these a good mix up. Nothing sciencey about this, just give them a good mix. Next, I actually just want to put a bit of colouring in, and I'm actually going to do these in white. So because I'm adding the colouring powder to the mixture, it is going to take a little bit of mixing on this one. So you do have to really make sure you get it all in, and the fork's good for mixing it in and breaking it up from being a powder. So this one you do have to do a good amount, get it all mixed in. Okay, so now I'm happy with that mix. Time to add the dry ingredients, which I did just used to use a 50-50 mix of semolina and flour, soy flour, but I've kind of gone for a much better mix now. I kind of felt my base mix wasn't doing it for me, so I've gone for a better base mix. So let's start getting that in. Alright guys, so now it's time to add my base mix, which, like I said, it's quite important to get yourself a decent base mix, or you know, work towards getting a decent base mix. That's the food content. But another little tip here, so when you buy these like 10kg bags or 20kg bags or whatever, they come in bags basically, or a sack, which can be a little bit awkward to handle and all the rest. So what you need are some food containers. Well, you can go buy a food container and it's going to cost you like £5 or £10. I found the best way of just getting a nice big food container for free. Go to either your local Chinese or Indian and say, look, have you got any food containers with lids please? And you'll find they will happily put two aside for you, which is what I've done. So happily put some aside for you, and then just get yourself 3 containers. Make sure your base mix is going to stay safe all the time. So that's a little tip for you there. Right, so I roughly know with a 3-egg mix and this scoop, which is 125ml, I need probably about 4, but I will start with 3 scoops initially, then I'll start mixing and then add to the right consistency. I don't use preset weights or anything like that. You can get different size eggs and all the rest of it, so I don't have a set mix that I could just chuck into a blender and do. I prefer to measure it out and see how it feels as I go along. So I'm going to mix that in, or chuck that in, and then we'll see where we go from there, guys. So like I said, initially I'm going to start with 3. Always kind of make sure you lever it so you know exactly what you're doing. And I suspect it'll probably take 4, so I'll go 3 for now. Go 3 for now, and then we'll start mixing this in. Just with a fork. Make sure you get all off the bottom, off the corners. So clearly that is still way too moist. So I'm just going to add little bits now at a time, but I do know it's roughly about 4 of these scoops. So I'm just going to add maybe 1/3 of a scoop there and mix that in. That's a little bit thicker, but it needs a little bit more. So when you get it close, just make sure you're only ever adding a small amount at a time, guys. Quite close to the end, it gets quite hard, so let's get rid of that fork. I'm going to start mixing by hand, I think. So you can see it's still really moist, guys, really moist. So it's definitely, without a doubt, going to need more. But I just want to mix in what I've got there a little bit first. Knead it a bit, spread it out, and then I'm just going to chuck a bit more over the top of that. If you get any big bits. Oh, that was a bit of cayenne. Bit of cayenne in there. Big bit. Alright, there we go. Right. Just mix this all in, guys. You might not know the first time, guys, but when you've done this a couple of times, you'll kind of get to a point where you know where it's going to be okay and where you might need to add a bit more. I mean, for me, this is still a little bit, it's just a little bit still tacky. So I'm going to do the same thing again, just add a little bit to the bottom, drop it on, and a little bit to the top. And then we'll give that a mix as well. Alright guys, so that for me is kind of the right consistency, and I'll show you what I mean. I have a clean glove here, so I generally just mix with my right hand. I've got a clean glove here, and if I handle this, move it, squish it, do whatever I want to do, it feels like Play-Doh. Yep, so if I do all this, feels like Play-Doh. Get it into a bit of a shape for the sausage I've got to do in a minute, but I won't have anything coming off my glove. That's the right consistency, guys. That's what you're aiming for. So I'm going to roll this, get it ready for the gun, and then I'm going to show you the bad boy I've got. Oh my god, really pleased. Looked on one of the boilie groups, recommended by one of the guys, and I've got to be honest, it makes a world of difference, guys. This is the caulking gun. It's not obviously meant for bait making. Actually, that said, I'll probably have to show you as well. There is a slight adaptation I needed to do. So it's just 20 volt, essentially it's a 20 volt caulking gun by a company called SD. And it just works really well, guys. Really well. Let's just zoom out a little bit for you. So the only thing I had to do was buy this plunger so that it doesn't, so the paste doesn't go down the sides. And this plunger is from Gardner. So it's a Gardner Deluxe plunger. Now unfortunately for me, the screw hole or the nut recess was bigger than the nut that was on the unit itself, so I had to just put some Araldite in there. Now I can take it off whenever I like for cleaning it, which is obviously what you need to do. You need to keep this guys clean. And now it fits perfectly back on. and it's all good. So yeah, this thing is just awesome, guys. Really awesome. Goes in lovely. Screw that in. Put whatever nozzle you want on there. It's quite straightforward. You've got a button here that allows you to put a plunge at that, and then you load your sausage. So let's go do that. So that's pretty much clean. Thank you very much. That can go in the sink. Now we just want to roll this sausage so it's good enough to go into my sausage gun. Remember, this is only a 3-egg mix, guys. It's not huge. It's not loads, but it's going to be enough. So there we go. That sausage is good enough to go into the gun. Let's get the gun. Alright guys, so now it's just a case of loading your bait into your sausage gun. Simple as enough. Get all that in. Then all I do is I just kind of pull the trigger, start moving it up. And on mine, when you let go of the trigger, also this is speed adjustable, so it's quite handy. So selecting the correct size nozzle for, we're doing 14mm today. Put that on. Pretty straightforward, pretty lovely jubbly, all good. And then I will press it until it's about to come out. And then we'll just check that. Alright guys, so before I start doing loads of rolling, I thought I'd just kind of show you my kind of setup that I've got here. So we obviously have a bait rolling table, makes it much easier. Little thing to catch them in. I've got the NSD caulking gun, which makes it really easy. I have a steamer over here which is going. I have a rack with a cloth underneath to catch it when I put the wet ones in there to dry. And then I found this as a really good idea for a drying rack. It's actually just a sort of A4 tidy rack for an office, but it's wire mesh, and you could put 3 tiers of boilies on here if you wanted, quite simply. So I thought I'd use that. Another little tip, that small little thing here was like 13 quid I think off Amazon. That was only £9.99. It does 3 times the amount. So I'll also have my phone here because I'll be doing the timer, and I'll only be doing them for about 2.5 minutes in the steamer. We'll set up over here, we'll show you how I roll them, and then we'll go on and do the steaming. So let's show you using the gun on the rolling table. Obviously really important you've got that nozzle the right size for your boilies to come out the right way. That's it. Make sure you've got it lined up nicely, lovely. Put the table on. Give it a little bit of a rolling, and then once you're happy you can just kind of roll them all the way in. If any don't go, just give them a slight push off. There you go. Let's do that process again. If your sausage moves or it's not lined up, just line it up. Put that on, get a bit of a roll, they don't all go off, just do that. Any little spare bits you got, just put them to the side. Alright guys, so when I've got about that much, it's just simply a case of taking the lid off of there, carefully putting these in. And then before I start, I normally like to, the fork I was mixing with, the back of it, just move them about a little, give them a little bit of room, and then I will literally put the lid on, set my timer going guys, and then I'll go ahead and start making some more. About halfway through guys, I just pulled it off, give them a little stir up in here, so they kind of cook a little bit evenly. And then that's that. I just noticed there's one falling behind it. So about 40 seconds left on that. That's about to go off. I'll just move this back a little bit. Just missed that. Take that lid off there. take that, drop all these on there, that back on. Now I'm ready to get the next batch in, which I've been making while that one's doing. So it's quite streamlined, guys. You can actually get quite a lot of baits done in a fairly quick amount of time. A couple have fallen over here, so let's do that. Again, spread them out a little bit with a fork. Put that on, thank you very much. Start the timer, and then we make more. 16 seconds left. Then I'll normally roll those ones down, like that. 3, 2, 1. Pull that off there, let that sit there. And then I'm just going to hold them, and I'll try and put them at the front. And then put it back on. Move them around. And then we'll get another one, another set in. Like that. Fork again, just move them about a bit, separate them a little bit. That's it. That's it, guys, last batch into the steamer. Lid on, timer going, happy days. There we go, guys, that's the bleep for the last set to be done. There are a couple that are a little bit bigger than this, but I'm pretty certain 2.5 minutes is going to be okay. Let's just empty them out. And then that needs cleaning. So there we go, guys, 2 racks of boilies all drying. It's only a 3 egg mix. Takes me about an hour start to finish, including the cleaning. So it's something everyone can do if you decide you want to do it. Now I just need to catch them. Wish me luck, guys.